Some conversations will be mind-blowing and you'll sit there and you'll have the most profound change.
Recording in progress.
Are you recording?
No, you are.
I am. I'm recording. Yeah. You all white?
You're all orange. I'm pink.
I'm pink.
Oh, hang on. Have I got my filter on?
No, it's my room.
You're just pink.
I'm just pink because basically this is the best room to sit in, but I have to close the curtains. So I have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you have the glow.
Yeah.
I glow. It's what I do.
Well, it kind of adds to the experience, don't you think?
Yeah.
Pull your cap down, man. Who are you? We haven't. I'm recording this, but we won't use this. We'll cut it.
I don't mind. Can do.
You don't mind? We could just go straight in.
Are you happy with having that dish rag hanging over your door?
That's my scarf, man. That's so that basically if someone I'm talking to annoys me, I can reach for the scarf and metaphorically go.
Oh, I thought, oh, right, okay.
Gag. Yeah, whichever works, basically. If it gets them to shut up, then don't say any more. So
okay, cool.
So maybe we'll just leave this in then. This is the banter. Is it? See, now. Go on.
I have to, because my default, I've got a, resting miserable face, which is this. I have to actually practice. I've been practicing smiles for a long time.
I know. I've seen.
Try to tweak.
I've seen this on your YouTube history. Is it a worry? Is it a concern that you have to practice still?
Just a bit of fun, really.
When do you think you'll have mastered the art of a smile?
Well, I can smile, but it's usually a really dark senses of humour.
What, a melancholy?
No. Usually, sort of like more, that kind of thing.
Okay, so it's dark. See, I said we're doing banter before, and then that automatically led me to hear Russell Brandt's podcast in my ear with Banter Decanter, because that's what he calls it with Jenny when they.
I like that.
It's quite cool because before every podcast, he has a little chat with Jenny about what they did before, the one before, and what she's been doing and her life. And they came up with this. We should call it the banter something, and it became Banter Decanter. So this is our version now. I'm copying Russell. Alan and I are having Banter Decanter, and we're going to leave it in. So for all these poor people, I apologise that they're going to see all this. You better
tell your viewers and listeners what you've been doing then.
What I've been doing, I can't possibly tell people what I've been doing. This is about you, this conversation. It's not about me. It's on you.
Okay.
It's kind of funny actually, because I just wrote down here, I put your name on a piece of paper, and then I put this really big
question. Threw darts at it.
No, I put, why are we here? So that's like an opening to so many things that we could use that question for. Why are we here? Could mean right now, this minute. Why are we here in general as human beings? What is it? So I'm gonna throw that as the opening question to you, for you to interpret. Why are we here?
So why are we here? Well, I've always been a fan of the national slogan of Thailand, which I was told. Which is basically have fun. I like that. However, I think, it sounds cheesy, but to have a well-lived life, whatever that means, to some that will mean some degree of service. For me, it means a degree of hardship, but hardship striving towards an end. Whether you actually achieve that end or not is another matter, but the fact that you're in that process and that you give everything of yourself towards that process, and the secret magic is that it's the process that is the actual outcome, because by the time you actually reach the outcome, it's that outcome is probably less important than the wonderful, beautiful developments that have happened to you as a result of the actual process of being in the process. Don't know if that's an answer, but.
Well, I'll take it. And I'm going to go right back to the first thing that you said before you went into explaining all of that.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone that's listening that doesn't understand what you mean by to be of service, what does that even mean?
Greater than self, as I understand it, it's to be serving, or not necessarily greater than self or other than self. So in the service of other people, or other things, a higher purpose, something which is, when you think about it, is you're prepared to perhaps go through hardships in order to make progress towards achieving that aim. I think it's something that you're. Yeah.
I'm going to be playful now. So what if it's not a hardship and it's a soft ship? What happens then?
If it's soft ship, that's all. That's even better. But I think it doesn't always have to be hardship. But I think you have to. My map of the world is very much. You have to be prepared for hardship. It's like prepare for war but enjoy peace kind of thing. So that when hardship does beset you, and invariably it does at various points through our life, if we've done not our work, but our, we've
it is work,
paid our dues to ourself, and we've built ourselves sufficiently, then we'll have enough timber, enough grain in the silo to see us through that unrocky time. Cool. That unrocky time. No, I think I meant rocky time.
There's lots
unstable time.
There's lots of little metaphors and analogies in there already. So for anyone who's listening who hasn't got a clue who you are, how have your hardships led you, or have they not led you to do the thing that you do, which is basically looking to serve people and help them with their heads and their bodies and their minds and all of those things? Who are you?
Well, my name is Alan Whitton, and I serve a couple of functions, I suppose. One, to some, I'm a life coach, whatever that means. I don't really like the term, but or a coach. I just would rather call it a coach, because who am I to tell people how to live their life? If the camera's rocking, that's because my dog is making herself more comfortable behind me.
On screen, hold her up for the public to see. Come on, let's see her. Yay!
Missy.
Now you're a star.
Yeah.
There you go.
She is a star, yeah. So I'll coach people. For other people, it'll be therapy, whatever form that takes. And as you know, I'm quite aligned with some of your methodologies, and we do similar stuff.
What's the difference between coaching and therapy?
Well, I think one is more remedial, one is generative, and there is there is an overlap. So if you remember what they called, help me out here, in maths, when you do the Venn diagrams, remember the Venn diagrams when there's this overlap?
Yeah, vaguely.
So it's like where you got two circles and then you overlap them. That's the Venn diagram, isn't it? And so, ironically, the approach I take with coaching clients is kind of like, right, okay, generative. So nothing's broken. We're gonna get you from here to from good to great, or from, which is a bit cheesy, I know, or from normal to good, or whatever it is. And quite often, as you know, there's probably just a sprinkling in there of some sort of therapeutic work. By the same token, if somebody's coming to you for some therapeutic purpose, that they want some help, they need to heal from a certain thing, or they want to move on from something. One of the big tropes, I suppose, in my work is that it's such a big body of work.
You've got a body of work. Well,
No,
it's a
it
big
doesn't.
body. It's a big body, right?
Yeah,
You can hold a big body.
absolutely. Absolutely. But so it is to get them orientated towards not just doing remedial work where you're doing cleanup on aisle 9 as far as their trauma and memories and crappy experiences are concerned, but also orientating them towards the future and getting them moving in a direction of progress, and understanding that it's not just about outcomes, it's about waypoints, and waypoints are things that they're like mini progress indicators. Yeah,
Progress.
so for me, that's the difference.
Okay, so then I'm going to ask another question, because whilst you were saying all of that, mentoring came into my mind as well. So where does mentoring fit into this therapy, this coaching and mentoring? Because that again is something else, right?
Yeah, I guess it is something else. For me, it's more of a, I suppose that's more of a hands-off, where it's more there you're finessing and readjustments. So we've spoken about yoga quite a lot, and so if you've got somebody who is doing a move that's 80% right or 90% right, then the good yoga teacher will make that adjustment.
Yeah.
Make that adjustment, as opposed to, right, okay, what really getting hands on, having to do lots of manipulation and lots of like broad brushstroke adjustments. It's more about just slightly changing the angle. I mean, I do jiu-jitsu, and I've been training for 10 years or so, or something like that, and I'm consistently and repeatedly wowed by the difference between a technique working and neutralizing someone and it just not doing anything. It's quite often the difference between that and that, and it's outrageous and it's ludicrous, and it shouldn't make that difference. But it's about when you either, if you're at tipping point, you're at tipping point. If you're not at tipping point, you're nowhere near tipping point. It's just, so for some moves there are, for some moves there's almost like a digital response. There's a move called an omoplata, which is a shoulder lock, where you're moving the arm up the back, putting pressure on the shoulder. For many people, and certainly for me, it's like I have got a flexibility up to a point, and I'm like, it's not on, this isn't working, then all of a sudden it's like, you're breaking my shoulder, so there's this digital feedback. In other moves there is much more analogous kind of like spectrum. So it's like, it's on a little bit, there's a little bit of discomfort, there's greater discomfort, okay, it's not discomfort, now it's pain, I need you to stop now. So there are varying kind of I suppose spectrums.
Cool. So we went down a deep dive.
Yeah.
Now
I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
No, you do. You just went off on a big one.
Forgot.
So this is what you do, right? You work with people using therapies, modalities, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
How does that feed you?
Well, it feeds me because I feel like I'm serving the greater good, and I serve the greater good, and I'm prepared to do whatever it takes in order to bring that about. So I'm prepared for people to think I'm a dick, which I often am, and I don't need for the person to necessarily like me. If it means I'm going to get my outcome, I'm not doing it to be liked. I'm doing it so that that person gets the outcome. That being, will they have a greater experience and a fuller experience, a richer experience of their own. I nearly said being and sounded like a hippie, but their own life.
You don't want to sound like a hippie. I mean, it doesn't matter whether they like us or not, does it? Really?
No, it really doesn't. No, it's. I mean, it's nice if they do, and I hope most do. Out of being a child with a vulnerable ego. But as far as professionally speaking, I don't give a damn. from it, as long as I get the outcome.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's always cool if someone can actually say, do you know what, I really don't like that Janice much, but she was fucking good at the work that we did together.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because
absolutely,
there's something in my personality or the way I approach that they don't like, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's cool, you know. But then equally, if people feel like that, then do you think that deters them from working with someone because
I think it could do. I mean, yeah, I mean, there are certain people that I think that, you know, I don't want to talk about energy too much because I have mixed feelings about it, and I probably shouldn't have said that to you, because then I mean you're going to be, oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah, but, let's talk about energy. What do you mean by that?
Well, but I think generally you attract the people that are going to be aligned with your way of working. So your client group is going to be different from my client group. There's going to be an overlap, I think. But let's say someone who is completely diametrically opposed to the way I work, the people that they attract are going to be that kind of people. So I think it all kind of balances out most of the time.
Have you had people, so I'm going to use my own experience, I've had people that want to work with me just because they know someone who's worked with me.
Yeah.
Energetically, I'm like, there ain't no way, no matter what the offer is, that I would work with you. Do you get that?
Yeah, I do that. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I do is obviously word of mouth, and I try to caveat things at the opening, in the opening set, if you like, by saying, but you know, I might not be the right person for you. You know, so hopefully during the sort of like a consultation or a chat on the phone, you know, if you know we want to call it that, you can usually, I mean, you've been doing this, you know, a long time. You know, I've been doing it nearly as long, and usually you can sort of like diagnose whether the person is as aligned to you or not. And sometimes you get it right, and sometimes you get it wrong. Probably you get it right more often than you get it wrong. But usually, you know, you'll filter out those people that you like you say, where they're like, okay, you know, so if I've got something to go, right, how many sessions is it going to take? You know, and if they're trying to barter for my price, you know, I'm not playing. I'm not
doing that. I think my biggest one is where I reserve the right categorically to say no. And I've had people chase me, and it's their ego chasing them because for some reason at that time I am the person that they need to be speaking to, so that they can go out and say, she is the person that I'm speaking to. And I'm like, why would I even entertain that conversation? I always find it interesting when I talk with other therapists, coaches, whatever we're going to call ourselves, and they never say no. They take any client that knocks on their door.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty easygoing, and will take most clients that I come. So I think as long as there's some, they don't have to be like a perfect match, you know, because I don't necessarily want an easy life all the time. But if I just don't think that it's going to work, I'll just say, I just don't think I'm right for you because I work in this way, and I'll, you know, set some frames that will give the reasoning as to why that is. Because you know, not everyone's cup of tea. I get that. It's fine. It's nothing personal.
And I think that's also being true to yourself and your offer, right?
Absolutely. I am not everyone's cup of tea, and I get that. And you know, sometimes when you're giving your caveats of how you work, you know, sometimes you'll get like, that's exactly what I need, and then you know, then it's like, then well, maybe we are aligned, kind of thing. But yeah, it's not, you know, we're all different, aren't we?
We are indeed. So how did you come to do what it is that you do? Was it like, when I grows up, I want to be this?
Yeah.
Or did you?
I remember I was working with the BBC way back when, and in the news library of the BBC, and I can date it only by the fact that we were using Netscape Navigator 4.0, so that's bloody ancient history. And I remember sort of reading about NLP. When I was at college back in 1987, there was a stage hypnotist, and he did this. He did a big show and got me up on stage, and I was pretending that I was a sergeant major barking at the audience, and I didn't. I have to say, I didn't feel hypnotized. I just felt really relaxed.
You said pretending, so that got my attention. You just went with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't think I was a sergeant major. I was just relaxed enough to do it, But so anyway, it piqued my interest a little bit. I'd always been interested in personal development. I'd read sort of Louise Hay's, You Can Heal Yourself, You Can Heal Your Life, all those kind of books. So I was always quite interested in personal development. And then I sort of stumbled across NLP, and I thought, well, that sounds interesting. And so obviously got trained in that. And then that led me to sort of IMT and, some of the other modalities and stuff like that. And from there, I sort of transitioned from being in like an office job for an IT company, and I transitioned out of that and into doing this kind of full time.
Just like that.
With a few, I'm giving you the slightly smoothed over
that's like the easy version of how you got there. So do you feel now that you're doing exactly what you were supposed to be doing?
100%. I love my work. I never wake up and go, oh Christ. I never ever do that. I'm always like, great, what am I doing? Because I always wake up not knowing what. I'm like, I've got an inkling. I thought, I know I'm doing something today. I don't know, because I work with different client groups. So I never know whether. So one of the things I do within my work is I work for a charity called Rock to Recovery, who provide sort of I think they're calling it coaching. They don't call it therapy. Non-clinical, which is obviously what I am. I'm non-clinical. Non-clinical coaching and therapy, but we don't call it that. To veterans, to people who are out that have left the armed forces. Occasionally are still in the armed forces, but that's usually done a bit covertly. And anyone that works in the blue light services, or any of their family members that may be affected, so it's like, it's not just the service personnel, it's also anyone in their family, and help to support them if they've got any stress, anxiety, trauma, PTSD, blah blah blah. Lots of suicidals. So guy I'm working with at the moment is he's 30 and 0, so he's had 30 attempts to kill himself. And he's, I told him he's shit at it.
I was going to say, he's not very good at it. He's using the wrong way, right?
Yeah. And so, and I'm not making light of that. I absolutely understand that every single time he tried to do that, he was trying to do it. But I'm very grateful that he's still here as a human being. And so, so it depends on any given day what I'm doing. So if I'm doing sort of like a coaching somebody who's a small business person or growing from small to medium size, then that's something. Or it could be working with a sports person, or it could be working with a normal human being, or it could be working with, it could be anything. And that's what I love, the variety, and I absolutely love the work.
Okay, I've got to go back to the example of someone trying to kill themselves 30 times. What do you think that is really about, that they're not succeeding? Because they're not succeeding for a strong reason, right?
Well, so yeah, I mean, it's very kind of like,
and I don't want to go into specifics of him.
No. I mean, my initial thought was, okay, it's just signposting, it's signaling, and all the rest of it. How he told me what he did the last time he tried to do it, I was like, no, the dude was trying to kill himself. There's no question about that. But with regards to how he has not managed to do it, I don't really dwell on. I dwell on the fact that he's managed to survive those attempts, and what are we going to do now? And so, you know, the framing for me is, look, you are clearly here for a reason, John Wick, and like we need to figure out what that is, and I'm going to support you every step of the way in order to, you know, pardon the pun, weaponize you into whatever it is your actual purpose is, whether it's living a well lived life and having a sense of peace and calm that you haven't previously experienced, or whether it's going outside of yourself and doing and helping and striving and doing something else for other people. I have no idea, but I'm backing that person.
Yeah. So I'm going to take it a little bit woo-woo now then. So
Yeah.
do you think there's a something bigger than him that is keeping him here still?
Oh, you mean me? Yeah. I'm not joking.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I am bigger than.
Something. I mean, what is that? Because ultimately, you know, to have not managed to do it 30 times, to me, intrinsically, I'm like, yeah, because it's not your time, mate, is it? Literally.
Yeah.
But the universe,
Absolutely.
it's not your time.
Absolutely. I'm not going to sit here and spout and pretend I understand or scry the divine. I'm not about to do that. Do I think that there's something other than self? Yeah, I do. What is it? I don't know. You know, I've read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and you know, and I've, you know, read a lot of the religious texts and the spiritual texts and all the rest of it, and like, they're all just guessing. Nobody knows, because that's the structure of the gap between, you know, this earthly life and outside of that. You know, if something is inside your body, it's only ever going to be inside your body while it's inside your body. When it's outside your body, then it's outside your body. This is a terrible analogy, I know, but it'll only ever be classified as being inside your body while it's inside your body. Yeah. Once it's outside your body, it's outside of your body. I don't know what that means.
But is there an outside energy, though, that's conspiring to keep him in his body?
I have no idea. I would like to think so.
Because to me, like there's definitely something else at play in these circumstances, right?
I would like to think so. I don't know for sure. If it means that framing it thus is going to allow him to take a grip of his life and have a less shit and happier life, then I'm going to back that corner. You know, whether I 100% believe it or not. It's not about whether I believe it. It's about whether he believes it. And it's about his exploration. I'm just the guy that is, I'm just like this stuffy old caretaker that goes, oh, you know, when you, in the reading of the will, you were bequeathed this warehouse and it's full of all these things. And down there is your resilience. Down there is your creativity. Down there is your hope. And it's like, and these are the keys. Now, knock yourself out. If you get lost, give me a shout and I'll take you to the aisle. That's kind of my role.
You're igniting or reigniting something in him to stay.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And be playful in this life that he's been given in this guise.
Yeah, it's a super nice guy. You know, and I've always been lucky in that, or no, I don't want to say gifted. That's super pompous, but in that I've always been able to quite easily see light in people and good in people, I guess, most of the time.
What happens when you see the real dark in someone?
Well, I usually recognize that darkness within myself, I don't necessarily find it attractive unless I don't mind darkness if it's done for a good end. I think that is something that is absolutely, you know, if I see, you know, a man besetting my 13-year-old daughter, it's going to be a bad time for that guy. it's going to be a bad time for that guy. And you know, it's for a good ending for you know, so my daughter survives and this and that and all the rest of it. So I'm prepared to go down that kind of like, not dark path or whatever. It sounds a bit pompous. I know there's a lot of things I say do sound pompous, and I hate that, but they just sort of come out like that. But I won't necessarily condone it or advocate it.
Okay. So talking about darkness, what are your thoughts on encouraging all of us to take a look at our darkness and kind of befriend it versus being in fear of it?
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of training demons. And I mean that. I mean, the guy that I was working with this morning was, you know, he had actually experienced demonic possession. So he was recovering from that. So I was working with him with issues concerning that. If you think about sort of like long COVID, you know, there are sometimes long-term damages that are done by somebody who has experienced demonic possession. I would much rather, if there's any way to train the demons, then I would much rather them that be the case, because it can be done, but not everyone has got the capacity to or the desire. Some people are just, no, I just want this, I just want that gone. It's like, okay, right, that's going to be much harder work. So sometimes if you can reframe things. I
was going to say, dancing with your demons is more of an insight to the wholeness of a person, right?
Dancing with your demons is more of an insight to the wholeness of your person. I don't know. I'm just passing it.
Well, to me, it's like I have my darkness, and if I ignore my darkness, or I think, oh my God, I want it to be gone, I want to not I'm missing out on a learning that is a key part of my personality and my whole self. And it's just, if I know about it and I learn about it, and I can go, yeah, okay, I get that. It doesn't make me feel nice getting that. Yeah, it gives more understanding for my future journey, right?
Yeah,
that's the way
absolutely.
That's the way I think.
I know. I think there's definitely something to that. I think that each person's different. I think some people, if they're not able to live with some of those kind of like those dark elements, then it may be better to actually sort of get rid of them if it's possible. And with another kind of person, you know, that is maybe at that, you know, that a further stage of their own personal development, they might be able to be open to see that actually there are lessons that can be learned as a result of some of those. You know, I mean, like if you look on Instagram, it's like the latest buzzword is shadow work. Like, oh, real, this is a new thing. Like, really? No, it's not a new thing.
It's new thing for about 30 years.
Yeah, well, it's a new thing if you're like 20, right? So, or if you're like 20 something, it's like, no, it's not new. But I understand it's like it's a current trope. But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of you know, training your demons wherever possible.
And clearly you've got a big shadow, right?
Yeah. I've got a big shadow because I'm walking towards the sun. That's
go.
why I cast a big shadow. That's why my shadows follow me. My shadows follows me because I'm walking into the sun.
So explain for people listening to what you actually mean by that.
Well, I mean just that. I mean that, yeah, you know, I cast a long shadow. You know, yes, there is a great shadow that I cast, and I can choose to turn to look at that shadow, but I'd rather turn towards the sun and walk into the sun. It's not super profound. It's quite ephemeral.
Your focus is on your future and walking towards
it.
it.
And progress and light and what's good. You know.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because we obviously use language and we use our experiences to express ourselves. And people like you and me doing the things that we do really have all these conversations. Yeah, I'm fully aware that there's people tuning into some of these conversations. And they're like, what? What does that even mean?
What is that
Explain
pompous
that to
twat
me.
talking about?
No,
no, I get.
Need what does he mean by, like, what does he really mean by that?
But okay, can I speak about that?
Yeah.
So the reason why I don't want to massively explain that is because you know as well as I do that if I go and explain metaphor, the magic of the metaphor evaporates.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like when you plant a seed, like you're not like you don't keep digging up the seed to see how the seed's doing. You have to bury the seed, cover it in some beautiful fertile soil, water it, make sure it gets some light, the right climate. She's going nuts. I don't know why, but and then there's an element of organic process, and so it's about saying something and just letting it sit there and not having to be fucking spoon. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's me you're talking to.
I know, but I know you've got this like this clean living version of yourself now. So no,
not really. I'm the psychedelic person, remember?
I know, yeah. But so it's very much about reminding people or giving people space for there to be organic growth based on the work. And then like you plant the seed, you make sure the environment is appropriate for the seed to grow, and then you don't do anything. And then it's in between the seed, the soil, and the elements for the magic of life and progress to happen. Like stop over baking everything, dude. Like just let people, let it fucking be, And then if it doesn't work, then change the soil, change the water, but give things a chance, give peace a chance, man. Yeah.
I wrote on a piece of paper just then because of the way the conversation went. I put deep meaning therapy. So I was talking to a friend recently who's done all sorts of different trainings and understandings, and he's like, yeah, I'm deep in the deep meaning therapy. And I was like, I think he means DMT.
Right. Okay.
And then I said, are we talking about DMT here? And he's like, yeah. And I just find it really interesting from my own more recent experience, kind of dipping into everything now and seeing how big psychedelics and sitting that beside talk therapy, people like us, is becoming.
Yeah.
So I probably am going to be asking you, what's your thoughts on that? Because, I have some very specific thoughts around regular medication being offered freely because the world doesn't have time to fix anything, it would seem, or those that lots of people go to routinely. So I'm not going to specifically call out the NHS or anyone, but hey, I probably am, because
just did.
Absolutely, because as we well know, especially in the current climate that we've all been through to, mental health issues, suicide attempts, all of these things are rising. My daughter recently had a baby, and most of the conversation around a health visitor assessment is actually, do you feel safe? Is your partner being supported? And her experience of that is like there was more time spent on that side of it than other stuff. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And then she's also been telling me she joined a group of all these women from around the country that were having babies in May this year. And there are people voicing that I don't feel safe in there with my partner. He's lost his job. This has happened. But when they actually make I don't feel safe, or this is happening, the first answer is, well, we can probably offer some medication, because they don't seem to have time to actually listen to what the problem is and talk about the problem and talk it out. So there's this rise in all these statistics of everything that's happened. There's a massive rise on other sides of saying, actually, let's try alternative substances, whatever we want to call them, sitting alongside talk therapy. And now for me personally, I'm like, I find that really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it is incredibly interesting, and I hope that it continues to expand, and the stigma of actually seeking help for mental health issues continues to evaporate. At the moment, it's very popular to talk about mental health in this broad kind of way without being specific about it. To the extent I think it's almost overused, not quite, but almost. I think it's important to be identified. What I would say is I do believe there is hope, in that if you look at, doctors are now starting to prescribe fruits and vegetables as some of the, who knew? Fucking knew, right? Some of the
a walk in the park.
As an intervention for, like, I don't know, obesity, heart disease, something like that. Like, well, have you tried eating? When's the last time you ate, anything that, that didn't have a mother? Well, that would have been when I was 2. But so I think that there is hope, but there is still a massive way to go before we're, in the best place we could possibly. I don't think talk therapy, the work that you and I do, is the answer to everything. I think there are conditions where,
some people need medication to help them, right?
Absolutely. I mean, somebody I was working with today is on medication, and it's like, yeah, medication, stabilize, wean yourself off the medication while you're bringing in other factors. That's how it's done. That's how it's done quite often. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with it.
Doing the work, right? Versus
absolutely.
just medication isn't an answer for anybody, I don't think. Really, in reality, even if somebody truly needs to be medicated to control certain things, surely the benefit is to have another human being who can hear them, and converse with them and kind of see what can be found in that space.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's still much more that we can all do to remind ourselves that in many situations we are at cause and not effect. So it's about taking ownership over what we can. We can't control everything, but there's probably a shit ton more that we actually can control than what we think we can. So there's more that we can do. I mean, if people are going to be horrible and brutish and violent towards us, there is only so much we can do. You can learn martial arts. There's 5 guys, and you're just like this guy. Probably all the martial arts in the world are probably not going to get you with a 4v2 plank getting smacked at the back of your head. In that case, you did all you could. All you can do is all that you can. But I guess the challenge is to find out what the boundaries of what that all you could do is.
Cool. So how do you look after you? As in what's your therapy for self? Because people always say to me, I quite often say to people, I can't sit here and be fraudulent to my clients if I'm not doing my own work. I have to do my own work, whatever that means for me.
Yeah. So as far as a lot of it is through exploring the somatic self, basically doing stuff. So I'm a big fan of jiu-jitsu. I train jiu-jitsu 3 times a week. I help coach children 5 times a week. I run, I walk every day. I run, cycle, so for me, using my body to take me places and have experience and understand myself more is very much what I'm into. Jiu-jitsu is amazing. I'm like a massive evangelist of it. It teaches you so much about yourself, and it allows you to, there's genuine personal growth that you can have within jiu-jitsu that has got almost a one-to-one correlation to building resources in your life. when you first start and you have an alien being, not an alien being, but someone other than your lover sitting on top of your chest and smothering you without any party time afterwards. It can be very panic inducing, and it gives you scenarios where you can say, I've had enough. You can tap, you can reset, and then the next time you can go, you're going to do exactly the same thing, and so on until it's like, no, if I breathe, I can last longer. And you've got to understand that there comes a point, once you can do that, once you can suffer that, once you can breathe through that and experience that, then you can learn to escape. Then you can maintain your state while you're learning to escape, while you're defending yourself from that person and learning to escape and maintaining your state, and then thinking about how you can reverse the situation. So there's a beautiful dance between the conscious and the subconscious. I think Helio Gracie's had a wonderful little speech about how jiu-jitsu was basically, it was like this dance between the conscious and the subconscious, because it's like you have to, it's, like the conscious competence thing, like there's unconscious incompetence, then there's conscious incompetence, then there's conscious competence, then there's unconscious competence. Oh gosh. And it's like, it's I know that's a stretch, but it's only when that you've got that somatic integration of that move that you'll find yourself doing that thing that, oh wow, yeah, I do know how to do that, and my body knew how to move in a very technical, almost unnatural way in order to neutralize your opponent. It's fascinating. I don't know what we're talking about right now, but
that was really good. But it was also taking me back to the conversation that went out last week with Owen Bailey, who at the top of the thing said he went into this whole, we use our body as the vehicle that we take out into the world, yet how often do we sit back to really unpick the experience that body is having and how we experience it in the world?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I was getting that from what you were saying. So I was going back to Owen's conversation, then coming back to yours. So it was like when you were saying that there's this separation between body and self. So my brain wants to go down that rabbit hole.
Go for it.
See it as that separation? Does it feel like that?
Yeah, it can do. It can do. I mean, it's interesting because quite often when there is the separation, it's difficult. It's difficult because it's not separation of. It is separation of self, but it's not a separation of conscious and subconscious. It's like it's a really subtle dance between the conscious and the subconscious. But as far as the separation of self goes, even though I've been training for a long time, I don't think I'm very good. The last 5 years of my training have been pretty terrible, but nonetheless, I'm trying to progress as best as I can. And, even now there's scenarios where I'm like, oh, wow, this is interesting. I'm actually starting to panic. Like I haven't got much. Like last night, I was working with a client, lovely young man in his 20s, big, strong, athletic guy. And, I was in a situation where like, I'm just going to run out of hair here. And it's like, so then there's this interaction between yourself of like, well, I can tough it out. I'm a stubborn son of a gun, so I can tough out a lot of the time. And sometimes, and actually last night, there were scenarios where, because I was just way stubborn, the guy gave up on the thing that actually I was screwed. But because I stubborned it out, like I managed to survive. Another time, I was just like, I'm literally breathing in my own sleeve like this. And it's like, there comes a point where my oxygenation is just decreasing and decreasing. My oxygen saturation levels are just decreasing. And I just thought, I cannot escape this. You win that one particular exchange. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because it was like, oh yeah, there's that panic. I haven't felt that panic for a long time. Oh, it's really horrible, isn't it? Like, oh shit, okay, can I escape? And that's when it starts to become conscious, it's usually too late.
So where
You
do
know,
so that just sort of made me think about being in the Aya experience where you've just got to freaking let go, right?
yeah,
And understand that the letting go will be okay because it will serve you.
yeah, and it's like I say, it's like that. I mean, there's always learning to be made. So, for instance, when I'm in the situation where, I mean, I'm senior to this guy as far as the ranking system goes, and it's like, and you know, an ego creeps in and goes, you can't quit to this, and it's like, then it's reminding myself, now this is a learning. This is a learning, maybe not on the ephemeral level, but on the deeper level. It's okay that this is just practice. It's not war. It's not combat. It's you know, it's a learning process. So there's always some learning to be made, and that's something that I'm quite keen on. Is that there is always a lesson to be learned. It's whether you can extrude that data and integrate it in a way that it's going to actually bless you and benefit you moving forward.
Cool. And all of these thoughts that that are happening in those moments are literally moments, right? But because probably
Absolutely, yeah.
you do what you do and you understand what you understand, you can extract that as a learning and understand it fully.
Yeah, sometimes it will come to me later. You know, so I won't be, if somebody's literally trying to choke me out, I won't be thinking deep thoughts. Well, it depends. If I'm that far down the rabbit hole and I am getting choked out, I mean, I have visited Miami. Visited Dexter's Miami, like when I got choked out, and it was like, ooh, I was literally down the time tunnel. It was amazing. You know, was it apoxia? Was it? I don't know. But so yeah, you can get very creative. It's like an instant trippy dream being put to sleep. It's like instant trippy dream and go, and it's like, oh, right in the middle of the dream.
Okay. Yeah.
And then like a couple of seconds later, you're like, why are there loads of people standing around me, like saying, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, yeah, okay, I guess so. But in that moment, generally speaking, there's no kind of like, oh, this is just like life. It's just like, get the fuck off me, like, you know. Well, I'm not actually voicing that, but like that's what your body is doing. It's like, I want to reverse this situation so I can, you know, wreak my awful revenge upon my opponent. Sorry, my training partner.
So you can do the things that you want to do. So I'm really conscious now that it's coming to the top of the hour already because it goes.
I'm good.
These conversations.
I'm good to keep talking for a bit if you are. If you don't mind, if you want to close it off, then close it off.
Well, we might
Won't
sort
be
of
offended.
gear towards the end, maybe.
Okay.
That's only because I try really hard to keep them in under an hour because
I waffle. Sorry.
No. For most people, like an hour is good. And then also what it does is it allows plenty of opportunity for future conversations, right? To go down some of the things that have been triggered and opened up, we can go back to them. So in terms of lessons and hardships and everything, you know, I don't really want to go into the whole COVID story because we're all well versed in it. Yet we've all had so many learnings this last 18 months. So if you were gonna, I don't know, highlight some of your learnings, what would they be?
From the last sort of 18 months or so?
Yeah.
That family is great, solitude is great, and wisdom is finding the balance between those two. And for different people, it's going to be at different parts of the, like, you think about the seesaw. Got a real chunky dude like me, and you got somebody that's really light. You know, like the seesaw's going to be like, boom, and it's like you have to move that point of leverage to the point where actually there is balance. So for me, it might be, you know, less interaction with my family or more interaction with my family. You know, for other people, it might be, it's been amazing because I've got to spend all this quality time that I don't usually get to do. So that's one thing, but having an awareness of that, of, you know, and I think it's easy to get sort of caught down the sort of the rabbit hole because it's like, oh, you know, we were all locked down and stuff like that. But if it's possible to separate ourselves for some degree of time, you know, quite often that's a useful thing. But also making sure that you know, like that I suppose it's about attention, where you place your attention and how you use your attention. So it's not just about where, it's about, are you really imbuing all of your attention, all of your awareness into the sensation that you're getting right now? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Rather than, oh yeah, cool. Like I'm eating a piece of toast and it's like jack shit. Like eating a piece of toast should be the most amazing thing ever. Like it can be, or any other thing you care to do, right? So I guess it's like where you place your attention. What is the quality of the attention that you're placing on that thing? Is it appropriate? Is it too much? Does it need to be, it's almost like a submodality. Is it too much? Does it need to be further away? Obviously physical exercise is massively important. And I think people realize, I think the nation as a nation, we kind of realize that, how important it is, how important nature is. And I think that love, the idea of, I was personally reminded of love who you can while you can, because they're not going to be here forever, and that we are finite, and so we always take for granted things, and people, and it can be at our expense if we do so too much, So yeah.
So the big man went a little bit soft then. So that might be a nice way to kind of round up that, because it's all a bit hippy dippy shit, but love's where it's at, right?
I hate to say it, but only love can save the planet. It's the only thing that can save this planet is love and kindness and compassion. I wish it wasn't the case, but it's not.
Yeah,
it really is.
I was working with a client this morning, and there's a bunch of stuff, family, she needs to let go of. And I was like, what we need to do is be able to allow you to do that with love.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's like, I hear that, and I so don't feel that right now. And I said, yeah, but that's where we're going, because then when you do it with love, it's all so much better. And people who don't get that, I think, are on a journey that's going to just take a lot longer, right?
It's going to take a lot longer, and it's probably going to be more torturous. So yeah, the other thing I say is, like, I think a lot of your readership or your audience are women. Can you please just get into politics and hurry the fuck up about it, because there needs to be more women in politics.
There's a bunch of blokes out there masquerading as women that love listening to this. So there you go.
I don't want to get into that whole kind of like
no,
thing,
they're honorary women, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. We need to speak up. We need to be heard.
Well, I mean, I'm not like a massive feminist or a massive masculinist. I don't know if there is such a thing, but I'm a big fan of bonobo culture, not because the amount of sex that they all have with each other. They're like, right, there's an attacking clan, right, go and shag them all so they don't want to kill us. I think that's actually good, like fembots, not fembots, but anyway, go down another dark hole. So but I think there needs to be much more women in politics, because women have got a different way of looking at things, and which is, generally speaking, more nurturing, and less ego driven. Women have egos, but I think it's less ego driven.
I think for the majority that's probably true. I'm just all for good people, and to me it doesn't matter whether you're masculine or feminine. Just be good and come from good, and wish to share with the truest essence of yourself, and use that as your marking guide.
Let's go with that then. Let's go with that.
Let's go with being good people. It's been awesome speaking to you. So we'll put all your links and everything when this goes out. But do you just want to tell people how they can find you, other than on the floor at the gym getting choked?
Well, hopefully I'm on the floor of the gym choking. But I'm much more of a giver than a receiver. But generally speaking, more of that in the next.
We can talk about that more next time.
Yeah. So I've got a website, alanwhitton.co.uk. I'm on Instagram at a little rock. I'm on Facebook. I don't really go on Facebook very much, so there's really no point messaging me on Facebook. I don't really go on that platform very much anymore. I'm on LinkedIn, all that kind of bullshit. But yeah, that's it.
It's been awesome. Thank you for talking. Thank you.
You're
for the
welcome.
conversation.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Cool.
And it's time for some more Lone Wolf podcasts. I'm calling you out here.
Yeah, basically, I after the death of my mum, it's been difficult, and I'm now nearly approaching the time where I'm ready to get back in with that. And you're definitely somebody who I want to speak to about that, because you're like a massive lone wolf. So I definitely am going to have you on the show. So yeah,
I might say yes. I might say yes.
Yeah, see how you fixed. Yeah.
See how I feel. Okay.
Okay, cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good rest of the day.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.